Alright, so, you guys have probably been waiting for this for a while. Yeah, a new segment of Legends of Evil. And now that, The Force Awakens has been out, it's all said and done, I'm finally getting out of the Star Wars villains, even though, yes, there was hundreds more I could do, and I will probably do in the future, just not all consecutively. I just won't do them all in one big consecutive manner. Instead, I'm just going, let's get back to regular scheduled villains outside of comic books. And honestly, I was considering doing Bill Cipher next, but I didn't want to open up any fresh Gravity Falls, withdrawal wounds. Didn't want to do that to you guys and be like, why do you do that? Why would you do that? Yeah, but Bill Cipher will be somewhere down the road. But I decided to talk about another villain who is probably, I guess you could say another great animated villain in cartoons, and that being Vlad Masters, aka Vlad Plasmius. Or as I like to call him, Norman Osborn with ghost powers. No, really, this dude is Norman Osborn with ghost powers. And you can clearly see that in some cases, and I'll get into some others later on down the road in this video. But yeah, Vlad Masters is the Danny Phantom equivalent of Norman Osborn. As I've said before, I'm pretty sure Butch Hartman based a lot of what Danny Phantom was off of Spider-Man. So, the story of Vlad Masters is that he was a college student and close friend, quote-unquote, to Jack Fenton and Maddie. And he really cared deeply for Maddie, and he even helped Jack try to create their first ghost portal. Sadly, things didn't go so well, and he was hit face full of ectoplasmic energy, and the ectoplasm created ectoacne that nearly killed him. However, he survived it, and from the 80s from then on, he had been using his ghost powers to more or less acquire wealth, as well as, learn to control his powers, and even overshadow other millionaires to sell out to his company. And yeah, this guy became one of the richest men in the world, but still he can't buy the Green Bay Packers. Yeah, that's the thing. He's a giant Green Bay Packers fan, which I can only imagine what he would have to say about that last game they had this season. I can only imagine what he had to say about that Green Bay Cardinals game. Oh, that'd be hilarious if someone could do a fan edit of that. Anyway. But anyway, let's not talk about footballs. I just think that'd be a funny scene. But yeah, that's one of his greatest aspirations. It's in his top 5 aspirations, up there with marrying Maddie, having Danny as his adopted son. No, he wants the Green Bay Packers, but he can't have them. And he lives in Colorado, too, so you'd think he'd be a Broncos fan. Go figure. Anyway. That's what I like about Danny Phantom, is that it used a lot of real-world elements. It did make up a few things, obviously the Ghost Zone and Amity Park, but it used a lot of real-world stuff, like, these are places you could go. Obviously, Vlad lived in Colorado, and, yeah, the Green Bay Packers, they're an actual team. So, yeah, he had all of this, but still he wanted to have Maddie at his side and just despise Jack, because even though he had all these ghost powers, he still had the one thing he didn't have, and that was Maddie. So throughout the first 6 all the way until we didn't see him until episode 7 of the first season. Up until then, he had been the mastermind of sending all these different ghosts to hunt down and kill Jack Fenton. But instead, they all ran into Danny Phantom, and hey, you have ghost powers too, and I can teach you everything I know. You just gotta kill your dad. Well, Danny didn't really exactly take to that, and they became arch rivals ever since. Now, the thing with Vlad is that this dude, again, like Norman Osborn, is crazy, like a fox, and that's been said multiple times. Vlad is a megalomaniac and a mastermind put together. He is completely insane, but he's he's insane, but at the same time, he's sane. I guess the better word is sociopath. Vlad is a very cunning, manipulative, a very just intense character. He more or less manipulated Valerie into becoming his ghost hunting hit woman, and as well as he manipulated other ghosts and stolen ghost relics throughout his career to become a god. That's another thing he wants to be. He wants to be worshipped for all time. Yeah, there are times where his ego could literally inflate like 1,000,000 hot air balloons if it could be an actual thing. God, his ego would even melt the polar ice caps. I could go on with these jokes. But throughout all of it, Vlad came back as Danny's #1 villain, and sometimes he would just do things just to hurt the Fentons. He would just do stuff to just be a total douche. And he feels like he's completely justified by it. And that's the scary thing about Vlad, is that here's a guy who has multiple resources, he has multiple, contacts, it's even kind of hinted at, I think in one episode he said he has friends in the government, this guy's, and he even became mayor of Amity Park, just so he could, one of the many reasons was, just so he could fuck with Danny, just so he could, he could just screw with him. And that was kind of the big thing, is that he is, completely out of his mind. He's a dangerous opponent, and yeah, just like Danny, he is a half-ghost, obviously. And this guy had multiple abilities. Some even Danny hadn't learned. I mean, Danny, even though he learned more abilities, Vlad still had an upper hand in a lot of their fights. That was the thing. Vlad was a guy who could be very, he's the mastermind, but at the same time, he could come down from his throne and kick your ass. Obviously, in his ghost, in the form of Vlad Plasmius, he could literally, he'd fly, turn invisible, shoot energy beams. He could even separate him, create multiple forms, and even create doppelgangers of himself that could actually fight as well. Vlad had multiple abilities, and like I said, even though Danny, learned to use more abilities from, his ice powers to his ghost whale, he still had trouble fighting Vlad. He still had to, really be on his toes when fighting Vlad. And the other thing is that Vlad sometimes didn't even need to fight to tear down Danny. Sometimes he could just say words or have someone else do his dirty work for him. Among other villains that usually worked for him, Skulker was a major one. Skulker was like his #1 minion, while Valerie was the one he manipulated as Masters. Until she eventually figured out, oh, Vlad Masters is Vlad Plasmius. You couldn't figure that out either. But then again, this is a whole town that doesn't realize that Danny Phantom and Danny Fenton, because the names are the same. Really, no one... It's like the Clark Kent thing. Anyway. So, with Vlad, this guy... Like I said, another thing about Vlad, and I'm sorry for getting tongue-tied here, the other thing about Vlad, and this is a more disturbing thing, is that this guy pulled off a total Clone Saga. Like Norman Osborn did. So with Vlad, when he couldn't have Danny as his son, what he did? He more or less used Valerie to collect DNA from Danny to try to create a clone of Danny. Hence, where we got another fan favorite character, Danielle, who is literally a female version of Ben Reilly. No, really. When you go watch the episode Kindred Spirits, go watch it and tell me it's not a condensed 30-minute version of the Clone Saga, and actually told better than the Clone Saga. It's the Clone Saga, guys. Don't kid yourself. It's Danny Phantom, the Clone Saga. Don't kid yourself, guys. Come on, don't do it. Anyway. So with Vlad, he did create clones. They all except Danielle turned out to be more or less to his standards. Even then, Danielle had a cellular breakdown and needed help to be corrected in a later episode of season 3. Among other things, he had set up plans with the Fright Night to take to do something, but we never saw what. We even got to see him reveal himself in the series finale when a cosmic meteor of ecto energy was coming towards Earth. He revealed himself as a ghost and more or less held the world hostage, saying, "Hey, look, I can destroy this thing, but hey, you've got to turn all power to me," and the world did it. But, however, it was made of pure ecto energy, which was never really explained how that's fucking possible. I think they said it drifted out of the ghost zone and into reality. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while. But yeah, he couldn't destroy it, and he was with Jack, and he begged Jack to help him. But Jack was like, "Oh, you think I was an idiot after all this time I supported you? You were one of my best friends. But no, you tried to backstab me and leave me for dead. So bye." So at the end of the series, he was more or less left to drift, to be a cosmic wanderer. Now, with rumors and whispers of Danny Phantom coming back, I would really like to see maybe not really a reboot of the series, but how about a continuation of the show and show that Vlad what he's been doing since he's been in space, because yeah, the whole world now knows he's he's a half ghost and he's not really exactly welcome there now, is he? So I'd like to see him I'd like to see what he'd been. I would like to see him come back to Earth, but I would like to see what he did during his cosmic travels. Did they make him better? Did he find something? Did he become? Did he gain more powers? These are questions I want answered, people. Yeah. So, yeah, Vlad was a really great villain. Incredibly powerful, incredibly cunning, and all around just incredibly dangerous. That's the most I've said incredibly, I think, in this whole video. But yeah, this was another great villain who... I love villains who can, talk the talk and, walk the walk. I love villains who can easily be like, if I get down from this throne, you're not gonna like it. And Vlad was one of those villains. He could easily, devastate somebody with either a blast of ecto energy or with just a simple word. And that's what made him so scary as a villain. So, yeah, another great villain in my opinion. And yeah, so you guys tell me, what did you guys think of Vlad Plasmius as a villain? Did you guys like him? Did you guys hate him? And hope you all enjoyed this segment of Legends of Evil. And yeah, I still be doing Star Wars villains, but I don't think I'll be doing them for a while. Maybe I'll start doing Star Wars villains again when we get closer to Rogue One. Who knows? But yeah. Anyway, so once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.